What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So like I have said many times in the past, more states will be sending out additional checks, and I want to address you on who is going to be sending out up to $1,000 checks and why. We also got some news on upcoming stimulus, major news on some other things as well. We got a CDC mask metric update and some daily news as well. First off, one thing I can tell you guys is right now, every lawmaker is pushing for additional assistance. Now, I could say stimulus, but that's not technically true. When we are talking about assistance, this means stimulus checks. This means a gas tax holiday. This includes things like additional, checks for children, for families, for unemployment, right? The list goes on and on. But the truth is that the majority of lawmakers that are pushing their agenda are not getting the support that they want. So here's where we are seeing support, and it is from the states. More states are planning on issuing stimulus checks. Now, we just have to be patient though. And I want you to keep in mind that states aren't going to rush out and send additional checks, and here's the reason why. In many cases, the states have additional funding. And it's true, most states do. Now, whether they give the residents those checks or not, that's not really what's in question. The question is when, right? So, if a state's governor is worried about upcoming elections, guess what? Well, let's roll out a stimulus check, pretty much a rebate to the residents. Let's roll this out a little bit closer to elections. Why? Well, it would actually help boost our campaign. So that's what we're gonna see. Now, I put together a little list of some of the additional states that are sending out additional stimulus. But here's what you need to keep in mind. The narrative has gone from stimulus and helping the American people to pretty much helping children. And here's the reason why. It is being said that right now, even though the child tax credit payments are still being pushed by many lawmakers, this is pretty much dead, out of the question, not gonna happen. So, states are now looking at their surplus of cash as a way to send it to their residents, to specifically families with children, so that they can hopefully stay out of poverty. Now, here are the states. First, we got California. California will be sending about $1,000 check to young, well, pretty much through as a young child tax credit. What we are seeing is that if you earn less than $25,000, you're gonna get a full $1,000 per child. However, if you make over $25,000, but you make under 30, you're gonna get something like a reduced credit. Now, this is for any children under 6 years old. So that's coming from California. Now in Colorado, they will be rolling out another new child tax credit payment. This will be for people with incomes under $75,000 if you're filing individually, or $85,000 if you're gonna file jointly. Now, families that have children under 6 are gonna be getting between 5 and 30% of the federal child tax credit. And the refund depends on your income and filing status though, okay? So, just understand 5%, this is $150 for a child between, technically between 6 and 17, or it would be $180 for a child under the age of 5. So I'm not sure exactly where they're getting the 5 to 30%, or how they're gonna factor this, because the child tax credit actually comes in two different forms. Now, if we're looking at the expanded child tax credit, that's what it would be. If it's 5% of the $2,000 though, that's different. So we need more clarification on that. Colorado just hasn't given that as of yet. So I'll make sure I look into that. We know Idaho is going to be sending out $205 child tax credits per kid as well. Here's the difference though. This is a non-refundable credit. So this means that you will not be given anything back. You'll not get a refund. But if you owe money, then you will get that credit off. Okay, you'll get $205 off. So in order to receive any of this, you really have to be paying more than $205 in taxes. If not, it just kind of doesn't work. So that's what we see there. Maine is going to be sending out $300 per child as well. Maryland's going to be sending parents $500 per child under the age of 17. But here's the big thing here. You have to have an adjusted gross income, an AGI, of less than $6,000. Okay? So if you make less than $6,000, you can get up to $500 per child under the age of 17. And we even know in Oklahoma, they'll be giving away a non-refundable child tax credit as well to parents who don't have an adjusted gross income of more than $100,000. Now, this payment will be for 5% of the federal child tax credits. So, like I said, it's either $150 or $180 if we're going under the expanded, or obviously it's less. What is that? $50 if it's going under the whatever that is, the normal child tax credit payment. So, yeah, is it? No, it's $100. It's $100, not $50. So just understand it's either $100, $150, or $180. And again, Oklahoma didn't give us much insight as that as well. So we'll see. I promise I will look into this and get back to you as soon as possible, though. One thing I can tell you, more stimulus is coming. But again, it's going to be very targeted. We don't know who's going to get it. Children are going to get it. The whole state's going to get it. Lower income families are going to get it. Those with houses, those that are back on rent, those are going to get payments. We don't know. Right now, there's nothing being talked about for people on Social Security. There's limited talks about anything for student debt relief, specifically through the states. Many lawmakers are still pushing for it, but right now, all the talks are on Russia and inflation. That's it. And I address this because just today, President Biden said that if Russia does invade Ukraine, then the United States should expect energy prices to increase even more. Now, this is already a very tough situation because many households are paying more than 50% just in the past year, which is insane. And the problem is that Russia would likely hold back supply from multiple countries. And because of this, and if this happens, the supply and demand principles would kick in, and this is going to cause prices to go through the roof, not only here in the United States, but in other countries as well. And if other countries manufacture products and they ship them over to the United States, guess what? Our prices go up even higher. So it's not great. And this is causing many lawmakers to scramble to try to find additional solutions to the increased prices. One of the things that many people have discussed is governors have said that they're very supportive of the idea of a federal tax holiday. If you don't know what this is, the federal gas tax, it's 18 cents per gallon, or it's like 17.4 cents or something like that, right? It's roughly 18 cents per gallon. So anytime you go to the pump, you fill up your car, okay? Let's say you put in 10 gallons. That means you have to pay $1.80 to put in 10 gallons, and that's a gas tax. Go straight to the federal government. Then you got a state tax on top of that, and I'm not even going to get into that, but that's what that is. So the federal gas tax holiday is essentially where the government would say, okay, we're going to get rid of the 18 cents gas tax. We're just going to get rid of it until the end of 2022. So January 1st, 2023, we would reinstate this tax. But here's where many people are questioning this. Experts are warning that taking this tax away is going to be very easy. Simple, quick, it will be done. But adding it back in would be seen as almost impossible and potentially a political nightmare. And it's because of this that there's actually bipartisan support against this idea. Not for it, against it. Because nobody wants to be the one that has to reinstate the gas tax. Because guess what? If Democrats are in charge, which President Biden is still going to be the president, okay, just understand that. And that's one of the reasons why the White House is considering it, but they're not really pushing it. Because they understand that, yes, the House and the Senate, they may switch from Democrat to Republican, or they may stay. But the president is going nowhere. The president is still going to be the president after January 1st, 2023. So just understand that even though there's discussions of this, it's not being seen as doable because of what happens next. So we'll see. We're also seeing that Congress is having a very tough time with President Biden's recent ask of $30 billion to help fight COVID. Right now, many lawmakers say that they want to include the $30 billion into the omnibus bill in order to fund the federal government, because putting this in is going to make it easier to pass. But Republicans say that this is not going to be in the fiscal year's budget. They are not going to vote for this, and essentially this bill would ultimately be dead if it does. So here's what I can tell you. Right now, Republicans aren't just worried about the budget and the gas tax and the COVID funding, right? They're worried about so many things. Right now, inflation is the biggest thing that both Republicans and Democrats are worried about. Nobody really knows what's going to happen with inflation. We keep seeing prices tick up. We know supply chain issues are continuing to drag on. Workers are getting paid more, which is great, but essentially it causes more inflation. And the issue with Ukraine is not making things any easier because we essentially don't have much control over that. So we don't know when inflation will be resolved, but that is going to pretty much be the main discussion and talking point far into 2022. We're just a month and a half in, and this is where we're at. Now, I do have one good piece of some news for you today that's actually coming from Dr. Anthony Fauci. And he says that we are inching towards normality. He says there is no perfect solution to this. And the fact that the world and the United States, and particularly certain parts of the United States, are just up to here with COVID, they just really need somehow to get their life back. He also goes on to say, you don't want to be reckless and throw everything aside, but you've got to start inching towards that. Now, the CDC director, Walensky, she said, and I quote, we must consider hospital capacity as an additional important barometer. We want to give people a break from things like mask wearing when these metrics are better and then have the ability to reach for them again should things worsen. She also went on to say that right now there are no guidelines in place yet. The expectation is sometime next week we will be closer to potentially loosening our indoor mask guidelines. Again, that's coming directly from the CDC. So here's where things are getting better. We got Dr. Anthony Fauci, who was originally all for masks, all for vaccines, still is, but he's potentially taking a step back and saying that we're getting close. We're getting close to the end of this pandemic. We got the CDC director that's saying that they want to loosen guidelines, but as of right now, they just don't see it as a great idea because we are still seeing increased hospitalizations and obviously deaths. Now, we do know that many were expecting that February we were going to see a steep decline in COVID cases, which we have. And sometime in March, potentially the middle of March to end of March, we were going to see it pretty much bottom. It's going to steep decline and then bottom, okay? That's what we want. So we are about a month away. So this is where, and again, over the next few weeks, we could potentially see the metrics for how we get rid of the mask. We could see more metrics on schools and indoor dining and just indoor activities in general. And that's really good news is we're getting close, which means we were getting closer to having our normal lives back. Again, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but as I know any more information, I promise I will fill you in on the latest news and updates as we get it. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.